In today's town square, the nationwide effort to protest BP. Demonstrators are gathering outside BP gas stations to voice their anger at the oil company's inability to stop the Gulf Coast oil leak. On Facebook, over 300,000 people have joined a boycott BP group. An organization called Seize BP is holding protests in 27 cities over the next week. It's demanding the government seize BP's assets to ensure it pays the full tab for the disaster. And another group called Clean Energy Works is coordinating protests with activists encouraged to wear costumes that look like oil barrels. Joining me now is David DiMartino, Communications Director for Clean Energy Works, and with him to demonstrate what the costume would look like, none other than Benton Strong from Clean Energy Works. I'm not sure it's a fashion statement that's going to catch on across the country this summer, but what is the point of these protests? What do you hope to accomplish by having people walking around in oil cans like that?
Well, Eliot, the point of the costume is to highlight the fact that BP and what's happening in the Gulf Coast is a result of a failed energy policy that for decades has continued America's reliance on oil. And the point of the suit is to show that Republicans in Washington, led by Senator Murkowski, are coming up on a vote next week where they have a choice to make, whether they can stand with big oil and continue our dependence on oil, or stand with America, who want clean energy and climate legislation that moves America forward into a clean energy economy.
David, look, I think anybody who has seen this crisis over the past couple of weeks hopes that what comes out of it on the positive side is an energy policy that makes sense, something we've been sorely lacking. But let me just ask about the costume for a second. Should the oil barrel be leaking? I mean, if you want to really make this real to life, I mean, just having a barrel there that doesn't leak doesn't make the whole point you're making, I presume, right? So then you're wearing this thing. Is there any way you can puncture a hole in to have some oil come out for us right now?
Well, you know, with the oil leaking in the Gulf, we thought we should punch a hole, or we should have a sort of a geyser above my head so the oil would come down over my head and come down off the side of the barrel. But what's important right now is what David said. We really need to make sure this Murkowski amendment gets rejected, because it really does only benefit big oil.
There's certainly no question about that. Describe for viewers who aren't as familiar as you are, what does the Murkowski amendment do?
The Murkowski Amendment would set aside EPA standards for fuel efficiency for cars and trucks. What that means is that in the future, cars and trucks available to American consumers would have lower gas mileage standards, which in turn raises gas costs for the American family. And by supporting the Murkowski Amendment and blocking those standards, you essentially are telling the big oil companies, hey, here's your big oil bailout. This is $140 billion worth of more money that Americans will spend on oil that go into your pockets, that doesn't go into investment in new jobs and technology in America, that does not put Americans back to work, but instead continues
David,
our overreliance
am
on
I
oil.
right that in fact what we should be doing is moving in the other direction, which is increasing the oil standards and mileage requirements for automobiles and trucks across this nation? Otherwise we get ourselves deeper and deeper into the pit we've been living in. Thank you guys for joining us so much.